George Jacob Berklin, Anna Marie Sophia Miller. They was grandfather and grandmother of Nancy Allison Pulte.
Yeah, was that on
In
your
Quincy,
dad's side?
Illinois, my mother.
It's on your mother's side.
My mother. Mary Louise Berklin Allison. And there were 8 children in the Berklin family. And Nancy, was the only child brought into the world from those 8 children. 5 never married. 2 others married besides my mother. And one divorced and the other husband died, and she moved back home with the rest of them. And there was Sally, Fred, Nana, Al, Emma, Bill, Jewel, and Bim. 8 of them, and I'm the only grandchild. This is my great grandmother on my father's side, Delia McGee and Patrick McGee. Okay, they were Irish.
This is 1931 Chevrolet.
That was your dad's?
Yeah. That's the root beer stand.
Was that out in front of the pharmacy or?
Well, we had the entire block, or half a block, and the drugstore and sat over there, and the root beer stand sat out here in the middle. Then over here, farther over, there was a park, and he had benches out there for people to sit out there and eat.
And then Joe and then Kathleen.
Yeah, that was the order. And he thought he had to take care of both of them. It's a silent movies and sang. I think probably Georgia or Kathleen played the piano and May sang, because grandmother was wanting May to go into the Metropolitan Opera, but she ran off and got married. I remember Dad saying that he and his 2 sisters hid under the bed when they fought. Oh, gee.
Just some more of the family: Joe, Nana, May. Just a group, which those are all marked up. There's Marie Ahern.
Yeah.
And her sister Bee Dugan. So there they are, and Marie Dugan Ahern.
Oh. Yeah. And this is their younger brother.
Oops, there.
George
Holman.
Oh, excuse me, that was cousin. That was grandmother Anna McGee, her sister's child. No, that's Big Spring.
Yeah.
Now, they did raise their kids in Big Spring.
I knew the Holmans were over there, but then did Joe live in Big Spring too, or just? I mean, Kathleen and May did, I guess. And
yeah, they all did. Well, they were all children, and Dad, and they owned the farm.
Yeah, but still.
Grandpa would take a horse and wagon into Big Spring for water, because there's no water on the land, and bring back barrels of water, and one cow would drink with the whole barrel. I just remember those stories. Grandpa worked for the railroad, Texas and Pacific, I think. Texas and Pacific Railroad, and he was in Big Spring, and then he ended up in El Paso.
Who's Bertha Arnold's Pulte?
That's grandmother.
Is that your dad's? I guess that'd be your dad's mother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sister Sale and Father Burke.
Do you remember them?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Sister Cecile was a great teacher, nun,
Mm-hmm.
and I was an altar boy. Father Burke was a character. He thought he could sing, and he'd hold his hand up to his ear. He had a terrible voice. That was our football team at high school. And we were terrible. Of course, that's the entire team there. Yeah, we wore knickers and Tams, but it didn't take long to get rid of those Tams. We lost them. And I think shortly after that, we started wearing long pants.
How old were you
When he died, I think I was 14. If I remember that.
Yeah, should be tough. No.
Yeah, my stepmother, she had a hard time. We didn't stay in the house. The store which it pretty well closed up. But we moved into an apartment, and she went to work at Creighton University. That's where Dad got his degree. And I went there first year, but it was expensive.
He did all the work around there. He went down to the basement and stoked the fire in the early morning and did everything. Took care of the yard with one leg. Did everything.
Yeah, that's pretty
He was a
amazing.
sweetheart. Nice guy. Quiet, very quiet, shy. But so Al was more outgoing, but you remember the story I've always told about him is he never married. And he said faint heart, never won fair maid.
Oh,
So evidently he had somebody once, but he couldn't ask her. Didn't have her. But he would have been, he liked his freedom and too much. He pitched for a farm team of the St. Louis Cardinals. It was Cardinals back then too. So that was his team.
Yeah.
And the only time I ever saw her mad at him was when she had car trouble.
This is your dad you're talking about
My
now.
dad and my
Okay.
mom. And she asked him to drive the car because it was giving her problems of some kind. I was in high school, college by that time. And all of a sudden I heard the front door open and she slammed it. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "He told me I have to manhandle that car." And she was too much of a lady to manhandle anything. She and her friend, Marguerite, left Quincy, which is very strange for women, single women back in that day, in the 1920s, and went to El Paso to find jobs. Anyway, they both got jobs. Marguerite as a legal secretary, and Nana worked for El Poplar Dry Goods, yes. Had 6 floors, and she sold the expensive gowns on the 5th floor. And that's where I was engaged to Jackie that was killed.
Oh, was it
That was a
really?
fighter pilot, Bill Jackman. My junior year, I guess. And he was they sent him to Korea, and he was a fighter pilot, and he was shot down. And his friends that came to see me and wrote me and everything said that it was a direct hit on the cockpit, so they never brought anything back, you know. I think it was over Manchuria anyway. So I thought my life was over. But I hope my grandchildren will realize that it makes you learn to love better. It's a painful thing, but you do love again, and you love better the next time.
That's what they call a Catalina that could land on the water and or land, either one. And I flew in that one day, had taken the guns out of the side turrets, and I sat in that and got the darndest sunburn. At the time, it was mostly training, I guess you might say. They had a squadron of what they call PV-4Y2s. That one time it was a patrol bomber, but it was a weather squadron then. Here's an interesting shot that we had just finished working on this plane and getting it in good shape. They sold it to the Philippine government and took cables and tied around the wings and around the tail and cut them off so they couldn't fly it. Well, this plane, when it landed in the water, why, it had to be pulled up on a ramp with the wheels down. But the wheels weren't on there. They had to be pulled out to the plane. And it was my job swimming the rope out to the plane and so that the wheel was on a float, and that they pulled it out there and attached it on each side. Well, I was stationed on the base, Sangley Point they called it. We'd go to town right on the edge of Sangley Point. Why, there was a town called Cavite.
What'd y'all do when you go to town?
We'll just go and get a drink.
Because you couldn't drink on the ship?
Well, on the base, we could, and if I remember right, the beer was 10 cents. That's what they call an SNJ. That I flew in that with my officer I worked for. They had the pilots had to get in their time. I think it was, I don't remember now, 4 hours a month, something like that. So I went up with him a couple of times. Well, he went through his maneuvers, and boy, he turned upside down. I didn't know where it was at. Diving on those fishing boats out there, those guys on the boat were waving at you, and the closer you got, boy, they started scattering. I wanted to be a pilot then, and went before the board, and which they accepted me, but I had to take a test, and to do that I had to go back, ship back to the States, and I was about ready to get out, and to go back and take those tests, I'd have to ship over for 4 years.
Oh my.
So I didn't do it. Bunch of guys, there's a park downtown El Paso, and there's alligators in it. And during the winter months, they're kind of dormant. So these guys, wasn't with them. I knew about it, but these guys went down there and picked one up and took it up to school and put it in the dean's office. And Dr. Quinn, and well, it was warmed up in there, and started thrashing that tail around, furniture going every which way. Every year on M Day they called it, during the night, well, somebody would sneak out and light a stick of dynamite, and they always put it on top of the ground. It didn't blow up anything. But I remember I put one out on a rock. It was too close to the dorm. And when it went off, why, I guess it knocked dishes off the shelf. I think that was my roommate, Mubin Abdullah, from Afghanistan. And he pronounced where he was from, I think he pronounced it Kabul. When you hear it on TV, it's always Kabul. And he had his little prayer rug, Muslim. But you know, he didn't go back.
Tell me how you guys met.
In a bar.
We were.
She taught me how to do the bunny hop. And I was wearing a pair of boots, stepping all over.
I was leading the line. We were ushering at the rodeo when we were in college. And it's a long story anyway. Some of my girlfriends and I ended out there at the bar with a bunch of his friends.
Yeah.
I'd never not met him before, but the one I knew best got up and gave me his seat right next to John. So that was we didn't stay long.
And I don't know why we got up and
But-
danced.
But he asked me to go out the next weekend. Of course, he didn't have a car. We were always bumming rides with somebody. Then when he got a car, my friend called it the mechanized cockroach because
That was, I think that was a 36 Dodge or Ford.
and I would have to go start my father's car and push him at night so he could go home because he couldn't start the car without it being rolling.
When we got married, why, that was funny. Our car had broken down. It was getting fixed, so we had to take, Nana's car.
My mother,
We had the back seat out of it to get all the junk in there.
the presents.
Outside of White City, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It rained like you wouldn't believe. And there was
Lightning.
water, running across the road,
Highway.
maybe a foot deep, or 6 inches to a foot deep, something like that. There was a car run off the road, downside of the road. Of course, they couldn't get back. And so we took his wife and two kids, and
We already had a suitcase in the front seat with he and I, and it was just a little Chevrolet. So she got in beside me, and we each had a child on our lap. We couldn't get him in.
It's dark, and I'd have to wait till the lightning flashed so I could see where the water was running
You
across
couldn't
the
see the
road,
road.
where the road was running. And I just stayed on the high side of the road, and another car passed another car run off the road on the downstream side.
Every time you
We
roll
just
the
told them
window
we'd
down,
send a wrecker out, and so we finally got in, dropped them off, and next thing that happened was she got locked in the bathroom.
and the bathroom was outside around the back. I thought I'd never get out, but I did. I should have known what was ahead of me after this experience. Saturday night, we went back to
Levelland, Texas.
Sunrise. He worked at
That's
Sunrise.
where the honeymoon was. I went back to work.
But-
They let me off for the weekend to get married, something like that.
Oh, you had the week, but it took a week to get the license. That's why you had to come in the weekend before or something
Oh.
like that.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any more time. But that little house was out in the country and we had no phone. And he took the car every day, so I had. And here's a college woman who's suddenly all alone with no friends, nothing to do, and nobody to call, and no way to call anybody. So Nana brought me up the week before. That was a week or two before we got married. We made a trip up to him. He had rented the little house, and we went up to spend the weekend with him and take gifts and stuff, So he had decided he would bake a cake. He who never cooks, this is why he did it, so he'd never have to cook.
Well,
He's-
it called for, I think, 8-inch cake pans, and she had 9-inch, so I had to add a little more. And
He got
that
out
was the
his
first
slide
thing.
rule to figure out how to go
Then
from
it
8 to 9
called
inches.
for baking powder. You know, I had baking soda. What's the difference? The icing called for confectioner's sugar. Well, sugar. So I just used plain old sugar. Kind of turned into a fudge.
Yeah, she said, oh, poor John. When we were going home on Sunday, she said, we should have eaten that cake, but she said, I just couldn't.
We're in Kermit, and the doctor was in Odessa. So we had to drive to Odessa. Well, I was out on the well, and I can't remember who came out and got me.
My next door neighbor, I can't remember
Okay.
her name now either.
So I come in, and
She and I went after you because she didn't know where to go. I had to go with her. This was at 3 in the afternoon when I started having pains.
anyway, I had to take a shower first.
And she's just
Yeah,
about to die because she's an older woman.
she knows what's happening. You know, I didn't know. So we got to Odessa, and I went down, bought a book, and sat down to read it. And nurse came in and said, "You're the father of a big baby girl." I was the only one there, and I said, "Who, me?" But we just barely got there. Yeah.
Cindy, we were in Kermit. I had the flu.
That was a
I've
little
been
different.
very
Yeah.
sick.
By that time, I kind of knew what was going on. And one night, she woke up and said, "I wet the bed." And even I said, "Hey, your water broke." And we just barely had time to get her down to the hospital there in Kermit, which is real close.
And it was so crowded. I had labor in the hall, in bed. I mean, there wasn't room for anything. And I remember the doctor coming in. This was 11, 12 o'clock. And he was taking his clothes off, running down the hall. We moved to Hobbs. And it really was pretty uneventful up there. Anyway, she was born. Very uneventful birth, just fine.
Yeah, except that he was kind of special.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And I can remember that was the first Christmas that I had waved at everybody from the window.
Why do you think she's named Christy?
We moved to my house, and Jay was born there. They woke me up during delivery to tell me I had a boy finally.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
And
Allison.
then Allison was born in my hands also, a year and a half later. This was all over a span of 6.5 years,
Yeah.
so it was fast. Ivan was a salesman for a supply company, and he would come to John's office, and he invited us to dinner one night. And so we went out with he and his wife, and we had such a good time. And that after that, every time he'd go home and tell her they were going out for dinner, and it wasn't us, she would say, "Can't we go out with that nice?" She played by ear. The piano. She never had a lesson. Her father called for square dances, and he'd sit her down as a kid at that piano and have her play for it. And she said she'd start to go to sleep, and he'd just hit her one, and she'd be back playing again. I'd be cooking dinner, and everything got quiet. And I'd have to go. All I'd have to do is go back to the bedroom, because she'd be plopped down on one of the beds with at least 1 or 2 or 3 of you kids telling jokes. Oh yeah, he was a Kentucky gentleman. We met him at, we happened to be at Walgreens there at the, down by the hospital one day, and we could hear this guy. We were in line to check out. We could hear this guy in another line, and he'd say, "Honey, I'm pure as the white driven snow," and we knew who it was. We usually run out of gas quite often going down Paso, and you'd have to leave us and get a ride with somebody to a filling station to get it. Do you remember that? I remember twice we ran out of gas
Yeah,
going between here.
the gauge wasn't working right.
Now it made me think of Jay. Tell me about some of the things those girls used to do to Jay.
Oh gosh. You'd put a tutu on him. On Friday nights, Mitch Miller came on, which was an old band, you know, and you put a tutu on him and put him up on we had a low, big, round coffee table, and he'd get up there and dance. Nana and Uncle Al were visiting, and so we had a station, an old station wagon. But you know, by the time you get all those people in it, somehow we didn't get Cindy in, and we left. We're just gonna drive around town, sightseeing, and we finally,
We went back,
We
and here
missed
she's
her.
sitting on the little wall there, crying. She thought we'd run off and left her. Well, we did.
we did. We did.
You remember the dog?
Move the
Frankie?
dogs.
And you kids would dress him up. He didn't mind it. You know, put him in that baby carriage.
But they put them. Tell them what they put on.
Okay, you tell.
That it was a long-legged, sleeved, long-legged, red zipper suit. So they put his back legs in the bottom legs and front in the front one, and then zip it up. And he was totally covered. Then they put baby shoes, doll shoes on his back feet, and a white cap, knit cap on over his head and ears. So he looked, you know, the neighbors at that time thought, we didn't know him yet, they thought he was a black, that we had a black child, because he paraded all, he just, you know, they'd lay him anywhere and he'd never move, he'd just lay there.
Well, we had Jezebel. You remember Jezebel came over the house just because of you kids. And the guy that owned her kid, he come, I guess we called him. Anyway, he come
We
over
took
and
her home.
picked her up. And she'd be back in our
As
head.
soon as she could get away.
He finally came over and said, "You can have her." That's how we got Jezebel.
And they had the same mother, but they had different fathers, and they were totally different dogs. And Spice should have been named Sugar, and Sugar should have been named Spice.
Jezebel was the leader and the smart dog. That I remember John Heiser came back and told us that
One noon.
they were all out. They all got out for some reason. And
Like the
here's
gate open.
Spice, or Jezebel, is leading all of them. She's up front, and the other ones are right behind her, and they go across the street. And Frankie, he's slow. So they sit over there and wait for him to come home. That's the way they went.
We always danced for them at Christmas Eve,
Who did?
you and I.
Oh, we did? I don't remember. I like the classical music. And I guess that's what it was all about. Making not just you kids, but others
All the
also.
boyfriends and boyfriends' brothers.
They all had
I know
to
you did it to Larry Hicks one night.
attend the music appreciation.
Some of your hobbies, because you're quite the creative.
Her hobby is cooking.
Yeah.
And boy, do we love it. We used to sew together all the time.
You know, of all the patterns I still have, the only ones I still have are the Barbie dolls. We're skiing in the winter and horse racing in the summer, which we never did. But swimming, go to the club and swim.
You went skiing, didn't you?
Oh yeah, everybody went skiing.
Yeah.
We had skis for everybody.
Remember when we left, there was 11 sets of skis.
We planted trees for every one of the grandkids. Got their name. Pops put a rock with their name chiseled in it.
We brought the rocks back.
Some of them, I don't think everybody got theirs, but and then he piled up a bunch of rocks that are in the way and called that the Chipmunk Hilton.
They actually lived in that thing.
Yeah, Todd brought Sean and Christine Aston up one year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They came for several years after that.
Yeah,
every New Year's.
we went over to the Mountain Gods.
They were calling
These
me-
guys took me.
Yeah,
I was Papa John.
yeah, the Godfather. Yeah, they went through all these.
They had pretended they had walkie-talkies.
Yeah, and then one of them has gotten a car and brought it to the door when they do all this to escort him out. And then they run alongside the car as we're leaving, like they were Secret Service agents. See?
You were so amazing. I mean, you used to let, our whole life you've been like that. Anybody could come or welcome.
Never really knew who was going to be there on Saturday morning when I got up. Well, you were 5 children born in 6.5 years, so you were chums your entire life. You were a unit, and you worked and went as a unit, and no mother anywhere would want 5 more kids to come in. So I was the place where everybody came. Remember, come little leaves, said the wind one day, come o'er the fields with me and play. Put on your dresses of red and gold. Summer is gone and the days grow cold. Soon the little leaves heard the wind's loud call. Down they came fluttering one and all. O'er the brown fields they danced and flew, singing the little songs they knew. Cricket, goodbye, we've been friends so long. Little brook, sing me a farewell song. Say, you're sorry to see me go. Ah, you'll miss us well, we know.
Oh, my name's McNamara, I'm the leader of the band. Although we're few in numbers, we're the finest in the land. We play at wakes and weddings and every fancy ball. And when we play for funerals, we play the marching song. Oh, the drums go bang and the cymbals clang and the horns they blaze away. McCarthy pumps the old bassoon and I do pipe to play. Hennessy, Tennessee, toodle the flute and the music is something grand. A credit to Ireland is McNamara's band. My grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor. It was taller by half than the old man himself, but its weight not a penny weighed more. It was bought on the morn of the day that he was born, and it silently stood by his side, but his stock
short,
never to go again when the old man died.
died.
90 years without numbering, tick tock, tick tock. It's life seconds numbering, tick tock, tick tock. When it stopped short, never to go again when the old man died.